All right, folks, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Broadcasting here live from Chicago. This is your boy DJ Top Don. This is Conversations with Top Don. This is a special event today. Super glad to be joined by, I believe, the first government official we've ever had here on the program. It is Consul General Ted Kwaka, also known as Big Ted. Karibu sana, Big Ted. How are you?
Thank you very much. Live from LA, lovely, lovely LA. It's 5 o'clock in the evening, 5:04, and pretty hot, pretty warm, and we're enjoying the weather.
That's lovely. That's lovely. It's still trying to move from spring to summer, but here in Chicago. But everything else is good. We're super glad to be here and super glad to have you on the show. Actually, so we're gonna get right into it. So for those who are not familiar, Ted is the Consul General of Kenya, based in the consulate in LA. I will let him just introduce himself a little bit more formally in terms of your roles and responsibilities and kind of what you've been doing for the Kenyan community out there on the West Coast. So I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. 2 years ago, God, through the government, gave me an opportunity to come and serve Kenyans in the United States of America, and particularly on the West Coast of America. That is in LA, Los Angeles, California, handling 13 states. That is from California down to Wyoming to North Dakota, and then south up, and then you go down all the way to Alaska and Hawaii, which were basically under the jurisdiction of the LA Consulate. And it's been a great 2 years of just service and being able to push out everything and to let people know. So we're happy to be here.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to get into this four main areas we're going to touch on. So we did ask viewers to send in questions that they would like to see answered. One of the very first things that came out, we've kind of collated the topics into different sections. So we're going to begin with the diaspora engagement section, specifically things that everybody, regardless of age group, likes to see handled. So one of the big ones that comes into play is always mobile consular services and direct diaspora engagement with the consular service. So what steps have you undertaken in the last 2 years to try and bring those services to the Kenyans on the West Coast?
All right. So number one is that I was lucky enough, Don, to come at a time whereby the government decided to give a special focus and attention to the diaspora. One thing I always try and tell people in the diaspora, because they always keep on asking me, how come government doesn't have this for us, this for that? I'm like, trust me, before, nobody ever thought that you'd actually go to the diaspora and live there. The thought was always that you're going and you're coming back. You remember very well before you left Kenya, Dawn, you're told you're going, kuja rudi nyumbani. And people came to these other frontiers and they found a new life. They found a home away from home, and it didn't make them any less of a Kenyan. So when people came out here, with time, they had to travel either to Nairobi or DC to get their stuff done. And then the more people came here, the more it became important. And you remember very well that the Kenya Kwanza government campaigned on the platform of making sure that the diaspora has enough resources and attention which is poised towards them. As we speak right now, there's a document I would like everybody to peruse through. It's the diaspora policy, and it contains details and great propositions for the diaspora. It's important that the diaspora takes part because it's not for anybody else apart from the people in the diaspora and those who would like to live in the diaspora. So that has been one of the flagships. And with that came the engagement. Now, the engagement is in two ways. Number one is mobile consular services. And this is a system the government rolled out last year big time, but it's been there in the past, but very, very, very small and coordinated. But right now, the government rolled it out last year, and it was a massive, massive success. And then we used everything that we had learned to build a platform for this year's campaign. As it's going on now, I can tell you that the team is in Seattle, and we learned from last year's mistakes and last year's wins. And right now, as we speak, I can tell you that things are moving on very, very smoothly. The other one is, how else can we get with the diaspora? Now, there's a policy, and then there's the personal policy. I'll tell you about my personal policy. I believe that Kenyans can only be found in 5 places. I believe that Kenyans are found in church. Kenyans love God. You remember growing up, there would be even that madman. On Sunday, he'd be a bit sober and he'd go to church. There'll be that village drunk, and you'd see him on Easter, Christmas, on Sundays. He'll try and dress up and put himself together, and he can go to church. And then after that, he'll just go back to his character. So Kenyans love God. So the first thing is we meet Kenyans in church. Number 2, Kenyans cry together. A Kenyan would attend a funeral for somebody he has no idea who the person is. But the fact that the person has passed away, it's important for the Kenyan to be there with them, to grieve with them, to support them, and to take care of them. That goes to where with fundraisers and everything else. I mean, how many times are you invited by somebody you have no idea? When a group, they're like, hey, let's changa for this guy. You're like, who am I changa? I don't know the guy, but you're like, you know what? Let me send something. Right. Number 3, weddings. Kenyans love celebrations. And weddings for us encompass a very, very important part. 2 communities, whichever they are, coming together. And Kenyans can travel miles to go for weddings. You know, I think Kenya is the ultimate wedding destination. You know, when you say destination wedding, think about Kenya. Because a Kenyan will travel all the way to Turukana to his uncle's, auntie's, nephew's wedding, who he's never met, you know, but he's just there to celebrate with them. Kenyans, there are also small events which Kenyans, Aye, Nyombo, you know, Itera, Kwadaidegi, Rorashio, Kenyans will go for those things. Who knows, if we're to be in Nairobi and somebody is going all the way, we can do a whole convoy of 100 cars to just go with them. And number 5, and the most important thing, I think, for Generation Z and Y, is the Hanye. Kenyans love to party. It's actually our way of releasing stress or tension, but that's just what it is. You know, like it's just in us. You know, if we just meet more than 2 people, that's a party.
Right.
You know? And you know how we say, I say, hey, Don, if we just come over, I've got some drinks, or I've got some meat. You come. So for me, the most important thing was to go into those 5 areas and touch the heart of Kenyans. And be able to be there in a concert, be able to be there in a funeral, in a wedding, to be there in a conference. So I can dress up in a suit for this particular thing. I can also dress down in slacks for that other thing, and just be with Kenyans.
Correct. I will attest to 2 of the things. We were lucky enough here in Chicago to do the mobile consular event last year with the ambassador from DC, Ambassador Mayo. That was very successful here. So we appreciate those efforts to help Kenyans getting the services that they need. Still touching on the diaspora engagement portion, we had spoken before, and there's something interesting you told me about engagement or meetings that you had in Seattle. So we, because of the number of Kenyans that have been here so many years, we now have a broad range or broad age group of people that have come here. You've got the people who've been here for over 30 years. Some have been here 20 years. We also have the younger generation, I'll call them younger, who've been here less than 10 years. And then we have the generation of Kenyans who are now children of Kenyans who've lived here, who are still Kenyan. They're American by birth, but of Kenyan heritage. And the ask or the mention from them was that they don't feel engaged unless there's a matanga or something of that sort. So what steps are being taken to make those Kenyan Americans, as we call them, children of Kenyans living here, feel Kenyan, feel accepted, feel at home, other than just being told something bad has happened, let's changa money, things of that nature. So you had some thoughts on that.
Yeah. Actually, what happened is there's a youth group in Seattle, very progressive youth group, and they invited me to go and patron their organization, and they found that they'd done a small survey on various things which they were raising as 3rd generation kids. Because you see, their parents, who are maybe 2nd generation, came to America in search of an economic dream. You know, it was economics which was driving it. It's a financial, you know, and maybe that's why they put in a lot of work into double duty and everything. But the kids are telling us that, you know what, we are now more interested in a social dream. because we already have the financial muscle that we want. Now we want a social dream. And with that, they actually complained and actually told us, hey, you guys get together when there's a matanga, but you guys never come together to support our dreams or our ambitions or our events. You never ever put money aside for that. And that's something which really touched my heart in terms of how else can we be able to do that? But I think for you to do that effectively, you need a bridge. You need a bridge between the old generation and the new generation. Because you see, if you don't understand the generation Z and the Y, you'd never ever be able to know, why are you complaining? I give you everything. I give you a house. I give you a car. I give you this. But the kid is like, that's not what I want. I want a relationship with you. You know, like, how can I make a relationship and I got to go work, you know, and all that. So it's something which it's food for thought. And previously, my thought has always been, how can I be able to be that bridge, which is connecting the two cultures, the two people, and then to get an understanding, which means I must go into the Generation Z, understand what they're saying, come into the older generation, the baby boomers and everything, and tell them, hey guys, this is what these kids are saying. And then where do we get a midpoint for the same thing?
Okay, awesome. I'm going to switch over to the trade aspect here. So last time we were together, we were actually in Nairobi at the Diaspora conference. So that was a big conference put together to try to get diaspora folks to come in and invest in the country. There was the official part of it, and there was an after event that we put together to try and get feedback from Kenyans, as a lot of them being people like myself that are in the diaspora. So one of the things, or one of the biggest themes that came out of that was, why would a diaspora conference be held in Kenya where the Kenyans who would be investing in Kenya actually live here? That was number one. And to add to that, secondly, and it's along the same line, there were some investment conferences that took place here last year. I was lucky enough to go to one of the conferences. It was here in Chicago. When I went to the conference, a lot of the invitees to the conferences were people, nothing against them, but the people that don't look like us, if you know what I mean, okay? So why does the Kenyan government not do kind of like a little bit more outreach to get to the Kenyans here to then have them invest back home? As we all know, diaspora remittances are at the highest they've ever been. You would think that they would tap into that. So is there things that have been taking place that would kind of work towards that? I know there's some in the pipe, but I'd like you to go and expound on that a bit.
Yeah, so sure. I think one of the things that we are seeing as government, as I said before, is the fact that there was no policy which would guide our engagement with the diaspora. You see, the government is it's a big machine, and government is like a coded machine. It can only affect something if there's a policy. Because, for example, if we say anything which goes into Kenya is free of charge, now government may know, but does the policeman or the KRA customs guy at the airport know? So policy is make sure that anything instruction is entrenched so that the whole thing, even if we are not in power, the next people who come in will follow the same policy because it's there. So the first thing was that we needed to have a policy. Number two is the fact that we did the inaugural conference in Nairobi. And I think the word here is inaugural. There have been other conferences. I attended last year's One Voice Consortium conference in DC, and this year it's happening in Dallas in next month. And I'm sure that those of us who came for the conference had very strong engagements, and from this conference raised a document, and then this document was presented to the president when he came to DC for a meeting as resolutions. And from that document, there are a couple of things which have actually happened. For example, number one, there was the e-citizen issue. You remember previously, for you to have that e-citizen account, you had to have a local number in Kenya.
Correct.
Many people would say, why would I? But right now, it was actually changed immediately after. Number two was the issue of onboarding people in the diaspora in decision making. And one of the things that has to happen, even as we go forward, is the diaspora must now get itself organized. I remember one of the meetings we did planning towards that, the presidential visit last year, had about 500 people on Zoom. You really cannot make great progress if you're so many in one direction.
I was on that meeting.
Yeah, so you know what happened.
I know what happened. Yeah, nothing happened essentially.
And we need to get to a place whereby we agree and we say, okay, what if from every state we can put our egos down, our tribal affiliations down, our sectoral affiliations and religious affiliations, and say, let's choose one leader. So in the whole of America, we can end up having 52, and they can form like a council. And then from the 52, break it down and say, we'll have a committee for trade, for arts, for sports, for education, for social whatever, you know. And then this becomes like, become like the elders of the diaspora. Why? Because government loves to deal with organized groups. One of the things that are found to be the hardest, I'm in about 200 WhatsApp groups. Now, I'm there because I just love being where people are. But I'm not there because it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job. And it's a bit hard to coordinate something big if we're not able to get ourselves organized. So that's number two. Number three is the issue of why Nairobi. I think what we thought as government was, let's begin, learn, build it up properly, and then now take it to the diaspora. We had a few things last year which were like, okay, no, next year maybe we can change it this way, we can change it the other way. Also, the idea was, once we do it in Nairobi and we take it around the world, all the diasporas who had come in are easily able to say, okay, I went for the first one, let's have it in the States, let's have it in the UK, let's have it in Pakistan, or India for that matter, or in Africa. So I think the idea, which is the first one, but trust me, the next one and the next ones shall be here. In fact, one of the ideas we spoke about with the PS for diaspora after that was, how can we devolve this conference? So let's say maybe have, because Ministry of Foreign Affairs has 5 major areas. You know, they have Africa, and then they have Europe, then they have Americas, then they have Australasia, and then they have different territories. So we can have one in every territory, and then maybe one in Kenya, which brings everybody back home together. Also, the event was held towards the end of the year, yes. And the thought was, the diaspora are coming back home. They should ideally could have a couple of guys in Nairobi. What are the things that good takeouts from that? Number one, that the diaspora is ready to engage. Now, it's easier said, but it's also not very easy done. The diaspora came out, the diaspora raised issues. Those issues were picked up by the State Department, and I want to assure you that things are happening. For example, I'll take a very simple one for the issues we were having in the Middle East with our girls being mistreated and everything. You no longer hear about that because the State Department took action, yes, and put everything in straight and said, this is how we shall operate and this is what we shall do. But also called out Kenyans and said, if you guys are in a foreign land, you don't expect to do anything wrong, and then you come back and start crying and saying that. So a couple of things were going wrong, and we had to straighten them out to make sure that they're well done. The other things have to do with mobile consular services. It's been rolled out as we speak, we have about 10 different teams all over the world doing the very, very same thing. And within no time, the idea is to progress into digital, where people will need to come to an embassy or a consulate. You can do it there. You can go to Rapid Scan, get your biometrics done, and it's posted and everything. But that's the next level. We're not there yet.
All right, fantastic. Just for those who are just coming in, this is Conversations with Top Down. We have Consul General Ted Kwaka, aka Big Ted, here. Make sure that you like and share the stream. We are live both on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to take a couple of comments here. I see Maggie is here. I see Lloyd is here. Buddy Lloyd, DJ Cuts Dread is here. A question here from Paul Muite is, congrats on the good job. My only concern is, how can you formulate a diaspora policy from LA without involving global diasporans, as the policy ought to be accommodative and inclusive?
All right, so maybe Paul didn't get it right. We are not the ones who created the diaspora policy. I'm just amplifying it. The diaspora policy is created and it's been put up together by the State Department for Diaspora Affairs. It's everywhere in the world. All you need to do right now, from wherever it is that you are, just Google the diaspora policy and you'll be able to see it. And basically, it espouses what the Kenya Kwanzaa manifesto spoke about the diaspora, being able to harness not only the money, but also to be able to harness the talents, the skills, the human resource, and the experience which is out there in the diaspora.
Okay, fantastic. We'll stick with trade. There are a couple of pictures here that I want to bring up if I have them on here. Put that up on the table. I know you go through very many meetings, and we spoke about this earlier. Just some of the things that people might not see day to day, like within the job, and just say that you're talking about trade things. So I've just put a couple here on the screen. Maybe you want to talk about this particular one here, what this issue is, and how this helps our country move forward.
All right. So one of the things that I found out when I came out here, anybody who was there in the old school days, you had to come to the consulate or to any embassy if you wanted to do business with Kenya. But COVID and technology has changed all that. Nobody actually has to come anymore to the consulate. So right now, we're getting a lot of people meeting with the counterparts in Kenya, whether it's the ministry or the various departments online. And it actually almost has filled that gap which was there, that bump which was there, that they had to go through a third party, which is the consulate. But the policy for the country still dictates that anybody who's doing business with Kenya from our territory has to still go through the consulate, because we are able to give you assurances or give you background checks and protect you so that you don't get yourself into a mess, or we don't get these people here into a mess because they dealt with people who are not probably very, very straight. Now, that's something I found out about this particular area. And I've found that America is the magnitude of the country has different interests and different aspects. And it's up to you to create a value addition. We go through the Ministry of Trade and Industry and Investments, which is a State Department. We can also go through if it's housing. So all of them are broken down into the various ministries. So the idea is get the idea, send it to the government can curate it, and then the guys can come and do their business.
Okay, one other comment has come in. The question the question is, even with the engagement that we're going to do for the trade opportunities here in the U.S., the question is that there is no formalized structure in terms of disseminating that information. And I can attest to that. Sometimes we get information really late, like there's some that we just got this past week, or this needs to happen. So what needs to improve to get that information to as many people as possible? Because it seems that that's been one of the biggest disconnects in terms of just lack of information. Actually, even here, just having you on here is kind of a feat, because we don't get to have this engagement. So how can we improve on that?
All right, so I want to throw this ball out into the field. So quarterback can run. Is it the quarterback? Who's that? The guy who runs?
the wide receiver.
Yeah, the wide receiver needs to go into position because the ball is coming into. I think one of the things that I struggled with a lot when I came out here is I'm a communicator. And when I came out here, I was not able to find one central place to be able to disseminate information. For example, this poster has been out for a week, 2 weeks?
About 2 weeks.
But you'll get somebody tomorrow who will tell you they didn't know it was happening. So for me, I tried to put together the media teams in America. For the people on the Pacific Northwest, which is my side, actually they formed an association for media, Kenya Media Association. Kenya Diaspora Media Association, where they have a president and they have their own things, they're sharing information. Why? Because we need a pool, an information pool, to be able to drop down any information that we have. So for example, You know very well that when I came, I got together all DJs, all promoters, all music enthusiasts. We formed a group. So
Correct.
now, more or less, if we have any gig, there's no DJ who would say they never saw it because they're most probably in the group or their friends are in the group. When you go to social groups, we do not have one master group with all social groups in the country. So that one is already an issue. But the State Department of Diaspora, when we raised this issue a couple of months ago, went ahead and on the main ministry portal, they have a mini site which you can go in. And because one of the things we need, for example, is for the purposes of discussion, if there is some danger and we want to collect all Kenyans, how do we communicate with them? Now, you'd be very shocked and very sad that even some of the numbers we have at the consulate are blocked. So whenever we send messages, guys don't respond, you know? So I think
Guys are scared of KRA, maybe. I don't know.
probably, but you see, we need to have a way to communicate to our people. Or alternatively, our people need to listen to, a long time ago, they used to have what they call rebel radios, whereby the radio signal will just be there somewhere between 91.10 and 91.3.
Correct.
And they knew where to tune in and they would get information about what's happening, where the enemy is and everything. How else, and I would want to ask you and everybody else out there, how else can the government effectively communicate to them? I would like to hear.
It's a question to the field. We've thrown that out, so we'll pick that up as we go ahead. Don't forget, folks, here we are with Consul General Ted Kwaka here on Conversations with Top Down. Make sure you comment, ask your question, share the link. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to move over to arts and entertainment and with branding Kenya. So this is a topic very dear to my heart, and I know it's dear to your heart as well. So I know that there's been a couple of things that you have been doing that from a personal experience, I will say that I have not seen being done until you got there. So things like going and branding the LA Marathon, for example, and I can just share a couple of those here. So maybe you can talk about that. So these are not that one. There is the one in LA here. So these sorts of things. So going in and making sure that when our biggest exports are out on the field. So we do the same thing here in Chicago with the Kenya Marathon dinner. So I know that the idea had come out and that's been done on LA as well. And then focusing to have things around those events that brand our country. So talk a little bit about that.
So I think some of these things are personal objectives. And I think when I go back to Kenya, it's something I would like to engage the government more. I would love to engage the powers that be to be able to let the people who represent the country understand that they're there as a banner for the country. And if it means that they go to the 5 places I said, then they have to go, Last year we had the Madaraka tour and we went around with Sauti Sol. And I met Kenyans who had never, ever been to any Kenyan function or any Kenyan event. In fact, here in LA, I met a guy, not very old, but also mid-aged. This guy is actually a financier for movies in Hollywood. I mean, talk about any big movie.
Right.
He has money in it. But he told me, Ted, I've been here for 20 years. I have nothing to do with Kenyans. He doesn't listen to the podcasts. He doesn't listen to anything. He is not in any Kenyan group. He doesn't go to Kenyan church. So he's detached. And the only information he gets from Kenya is what his dad tells him, which he doesn't really get invested in. So I think one of the first things we do after the communication part is to be able to brand Kenya. Why do we need to brand Kenya? This is my thought. Whenever our kids go to school and they meet kids from here can brag about LeBron, about everybody else. Now, what are we giving our kids to brag about? This is my thought. When we did the LA Marathon, all the winners came to my house for dinner, and one of the families brought in their kids. And I told the kids, you know what? Take a picture with the winner. Tomorrow when you go to school, I want you to rub it on everybody's face. I want it to be like, listen, do you know who won the marathon? No, Kenyan. Do you know who did this? Kenyan. Because we have to give our kids something to be proud about. If they don't have anything to be proud about, then they will definitely embrace a totally different culture, which offers them that comfort. I went to visit a man 1.5 years ago when I came here, and he asked me, how come Kenya has never taken to brand the biggest billboards that they know, which is the runners, you know? So going back home, I'm going to really, really try and dive in and just try and make government understand that when anybody is out here, we need to rub it in properly. I got a gift yesterday from a Chinese client. They're not even in government, but this is what they gave me. Chinese tea.
Oh.
You know, it's not a government product, but it's packed ready for gifting, you know. Right. I don't think there needs to be any use for us to give people stuff which is made in other countries while we have stuff made in our country. In fact, hey, let's go crazy. Let's go and buy all the paintings that we have, authentic paintings by young artists. Let's give them out to our friends. It's Christmas. Give them a Kenyan painting. You know, it's Halloween. Give them a Kenyan carving, a mask. It's whatever we celebrate, Thanksgiving. Give them a Kenyan tea or a pack of Kenyan foods. We have a friend right here in LA who just got his FDA approvals to bring in honey. So he has authentic Kenyan bush honey. You know, not these things people are eating here, which have molasses. No,
right,
authentic honey from Elgeyo Marakwet. Let's do that. Let's give it. You know, let's give our stuff. So on the backside, one of the things I'm going to really, really push government is for us to continue to push more Kenyan products into the market. Number two, provide a route to market, because the American market is very different. It's not like more like the Kenyan market. For you to bring in your product here, it must go through certification. After that, you get into the trade where the 10,000 other things. You know, Amazon has 4 million products just sitting on its shelves. You know, so for us to be there and we have the oomph and the necessary lift for our products, anybody who sees that flag will be able to say, oh, that's a Kenyan thing. You know, it's the same way we were conditioned to think that if you ever see the American flag, it means this. You know, if you see a German flag, it means this thing will never ever break.
Correct.
And then we're told if you see another flag, this thing will break tomorrow. You know, so we need to be able to brand ourselves, take our branding a step higher. And for me, branding is everything. Going back home, I'm a member of the Marketing Society of Kenya and the Public Relations Society of Kenya, amongst many others, Event Management Society and the Music Societies, and we shall be there to make sure that we push it. The other thing is in the creative economy. I believe that the world is now turning to Africa. And Don, it seems that everybody else believes in Africa apart from the Africans. These guys, the world is 100% going to Africa. Let me steal for you a secret. The Grammys, they're going to be in Africa.
Yep.
NBA has set up in Africa. NFL set up in Africa.
You were involved in those, by the way. I don't know if I have those really handy. So the NBA one, I know you had, yes, you had Ron Harper come in, and he was just with the president the other day. Also for the Grammys as well, you were involved in getting that together.
Yeah. And we're actually going in right now with even there's an award ceremony called Harper Awards. Now it's a mid-level Black Excellence Award. Now, what do we need to do? Take those people to Africa. Number one, they will be able to associate with the Africans because they feel, hey, we're African. Now, if we're able to bring all these Black celebrities to Africa, I'm right now involved, as of yesterday, with a rematch of the biggest boxing match ever in the world. You know it?
The Rumble in the Jungle, right?
Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah.
Rumble in the Jungle 2 is actually going to be happening as a commemoration of, I think, 50 years. And we are in there trying to make sure that that also works well, because one of the things that I found out about these opportunities, anytime I'd go to a meeting, let's say I go to a meeting for an award ceremony, and I say this with all humility, would go into the award ceremony done, and on the table, I'd find we have our Americans, there's a Chinese guy there, and then there's a Nigerian. And now it dawned on me, why are they everywhere? How comes the Nigerians are everywhere? How come even Afrobeats? Let me tell you something. We can talk about how it's been pushed, how it's been propagated, how they've made sure the numbers are high, how they've made sure, we can talk about everything. Don, one of the main reasons is that they were on the table. They were not on the menu.
Agreed.
The problem with Kenyan products is that we are on the menu, not on the table. When you're on the table, you actually look for opportunities. It's very easy for you to be on the table and be like, you know what? That's a small opportunity, but I'll give it to our guy. So you go in there and find 5 of the fashion designers. Oh, you told no, we have guys from Africa. No, we can't get anybody else. We have 5 people. You get, where are they from? One country. Oh, we already have an artist. Yes, we paid for him. He came from Africa. No, Africa. You go, one country, because they're on the table. Don, we must get on the table. And what the Nigerians have done is beautiful. Their top awards, let's say the Grammys, they have somebody on the table.
Mm-hmm.
The BETs, they have something on the table. You come to the Harper Awards, they have somebody on the table. You go to the lowest awards, state awards, they have somebody on the table. Don, we have enough Kenyans and enough human resource in this country to be able to have our people on each and every table. Because once we have our people on the table, then we shall get a piece of the serving, the meat. They can't eat this whole cow alone, even if it's the tail. And I said it's okay. I will accept to eat the tail for year 1, I'll be number 3. Year 2, I'll be number 2. Year 3, I'll be number 1. Because we know how to get in there. And Kenyans are good workers, and we know how to do everything. And even our accent is understandable. So that is for the creative economy. The other things that we need to get into here is a trade. One of the things that has been happening is we had the AGOA, which was there.
Correct. Yeah.
And I'd want to say that when Africa never really took the opportunity properly, probably we never understood what the opportunity was all about. And now as we came to the end of AGOA, Kenya is negotiating a different agreement called STEP, and it's about to go through. And we have managed to clear out of 10,000 products, we managed to clear like 9,000. So we did no time. I think when the president comes here for his visit, we'll be able to announce something great and something new, a new dawn for Kenya. For example, why shouldn't the world eat Farmer's Choice sausages?
You can't bring them in at the airport. You're stopped. It's a problem.
Because it's needed to go through certification.
Certification, yes.
But now, since we understand farm to fork, and most of the Kenyan products now are actually farm to fork. And remember, most of the stuff we do in Kenya is organic. So as long as we're able to adhere to the rules that we're given, America is open for us. And I'm 100% sure that we shall be able to see a very, very big difference come the next few years, the way Kenya is moving.
Okay. I'm going to switch a little bit and go into just more of the personal stuff in terms of yourself and having your office be quite approachable. Now, we have not really talked about it here that much, but you've kind of touched on it. Your tenure is coming to an end here, I believe, in a month and a half. We'll touch on that just in a little bit. But I was just going to show a few photos of people coming into the consulate in LA and just meeting up with you and being approachable. You want me to go back to this one?
No, the other
this one here.
So this is Elsa Majimbo.
Yes, Elsa Majimbo, right.
Kenyan. She's Forbes top 30 under 30.
Correct.
Correct. And she's making great headways in Hollywood.
Okay. Let's show another one here. You talked about Amalia with CS Ababu Namwamba.
Yeah, the guy in white is Cover T. Cover T is our connect, the main man, Cover T, but the big up. He's actually on his way to Africa right now, and he's going to Tanzania, and I'll be with him in Kenya. Cover T is a producer here, but he's a connector for music and the arts. Great connector. And he introduced us to Runs 1500. Runs 1500, if you Google him, you'll see he's a man, half legend, you know, and we're going to do great stuff with him. There was another one which you had shown there.
Let's see, maybe here. Oh, that's Grace. Talk about this one for a bit, yes.
This Uma did a book on elephants, and she's going down to Kenya to set up a center in Voi, but at the same time, she wants to shoot a movie on elephants and conservation. Pretty deep, Hollywood deep.
Okay, I see. And then let me see if I get one more down here. We just talked about him.
So I need to
this one
about
here,
Uche.
yes. Yes.
So he runs a very innovative program taking African Americans to Africa. And this year they have chosen to take their trip to Kenya. I'll be gracious to go, and I'll be with them in Kenya in June. Okay. And apart from doing CSR work, they intend to travel to various areas in Kenya, Masai Mara, just to see and experience that. One of the things they requested for, I've never had this request before, is for them to meet a Kenyan royalty. In Kenya, we have King Mumia Nabongo too, and who's been honorable enough and agreed to come and meet with them and take them to the whole history of the Nabongo kingdom and the Mumia kingdom, sorry. So His Royal Highness Nabongo will be there. And this is the second trip out of LA. The first one went last year. We had about 56 people who went last year. And this year we're going with 61 to Kenya.
Wow. Fantastic stuff. Let's see this one here. We just went through that one. This one here, yes, with the president there, yourself, with Meg Whitman. And who are the gentlemen there? So that's CS Alfred Mutua, right?
Yes, Alfred Mutua, the PS for ICT, PS Tenure, and Eden Mohammed, who is the president.
Eden Mohammed, yes. Okay. Yes. And actually, I met him at the other conference. Yes, I did.
Yes, he was there. Okay. So that was when the president met up with the Grammys team. That is the Grammy president and the Grammy CEO. And we signed an MOU, and Kenya committed to a couple of things. I'm telling you guys, it's just about to get crazy. You know, Africa is the future. Let me tell you.
That's what we want to hear. That's why we're here.
I'm going home. Everybody's like, "Oh, please stay." I'm like, no. Listen, any wise fisherman, knowing that the fish are coming with the current, always goes and sets his net ahead of time. So it's just about to happen.
Okay, fantastic. I'll do a few more here. This is you with Meg Whitman. Who's the guy in the middle next to Meg Whitman?
Oh, he's actually one of Meg's assistants from the American Embassy, American Embassy in Kenya.
Okay, and then there's one I wanted to touch on here.
This was that was at the Afro Awards in Los Angeles. Where we the man in the middle is our legislator, the member of parliament for Embakasi, Honorable Mwenje, and one of the business people in LA called Paul Mwangi, who is one of the biggest contractors for government and the staffing, runs a staffing agency. I was awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award. I've just been here for a year, but I've received actually 4 awards. Simply because of...
With good reason.
Yes, please.
With good reason. I will tell you. I will attest to it.
Yes, just various things. I'm a Pan-Africanist, and I want anything to happen in Africa. I only dress up in African wear, not because I don't have anything else to dress up in. And I think my wife is always telling me, "Oh, come on, dress up in a suit like you used to do in Kenya." But I said that one of the things that I'll do when I come out here is become a good representative for not only the country, but also what the country can do. And fashion is one of them.
Fantastic. Quick comment here. Don't forget, folks, we are broadcasting live on Facebook and on YouTube. Like and share the link. Also subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Comment here that's related to your last photo. This is Mary Wanalo from Jubilee Church here in Chicago. Hi, Mary. How are you? Says, I am from Nabongo Momea family. Interested in more information on that trip. We will get you that information. Thank you so much for watching. All right. So want to get into this, do a quick time check. We're 45 minutes in. We have 15 minutes left. We've touched on it quite a bit, but really haven't delved into the politics of it. And I know we're trying to keep away from that, but we have to actually get there because it's been a burning question. So 4 weeks ago is when the circular came out from the Kenyan government that your term will be coming to an end. I will let you touch on that in terms of how that came about, how you're feeling about that, and things of that nature before I give my thoughts on it.
All right. So number
pressure,
one,
pressure.
No. I think it's not a funny thing for me. Number one, we serve at the behest of the president and the country, and I've been blessed to serve my country for 2 years. I'm the first block off my chip to be able to be posted. Nobody else has ever been posted out for that. So already I have done what I needed to do. I always tell everybody that the thing with the hardest job in an arrow is not the feathers. The feathers just look nice flying in the wind. It's not the stick. The stick just keeps the direction. It's the arrowhead. And the arrowhead, once it goes into the body, it's never seen. What you see is the stick and you see the feathers. And that's one of the things that I came to learn. I came to understand that I'm here for a reason, but I'm also here for a season. And once the season is over, and I want to the onset tell you that I'm a spiritual man. And I believe that God sets, and the Bible tells us that for everything under the sun, there's a season. That there's a season for everything. And when the season is over, you cannot stay in nursery your whole life. And what if you're a good student? What if you've learned too fast? They just simply promote you to the next level. And for me, I think and I believe that this is actually a promotion. God is taking me to the next level. And I'm sure the country has seen the value that I can bring to the table, and they'll use it in their time.
Okay, fantastic. Do you want to divulge maybe some of the things you'll be doing when you get to Kenya, or that's for a separate time?
No, I can tell you. One of the things so I've been a player in the creative economy space for the last 28 years. And correct. I don't intend to let that go. I believe that I have been to the mountaintop. I've seen what's available here. I can go tell people. One of the things I want to tell our people is that Hollywood is not the answer for Africa. America is actually not the answer for Africa. Africa has enough potential and capacity to be able to be its own answer. For example, in Eastern Central Africa, incorporating the other countries around it, there are 716 million people. Netflix worldwide has 213 million people. Now, if we decide that we want to build a platform for only Eastern Central Africa, that's Zambia and Zimbabwe going down, that will just do content and half the people come on board. Don't forget that Africa is also the inventor of the mobile wallet, which means like in Kenya, any phone you buy already has a mobile wallet on it. It means that Africa already is ahead. You don't have to subscribe. All you can do is do that. And one of the things I've been saying is Africa needs to understand that in itself is the solution for Africa. So I'm going to be a very, very loud voice for Africa, a very loud advocate for Africa, so that Africa is able to listen to itself and say that, yes, I'm able to do this, we're able to do that. If we need anything, we can collaborate, but we can still do it on our own. So that's one of the things I'm going to be doing. Of course, I'm headed back to report back to my boss and tell my boss that Thank you very much. I've finished my tour of duty. What next do you want me to do? So when that time comes, I'll be very happy to do that. But also, as you know very well, I'm a festivals promoter. And together we've been doing the Umoja Splash Festival for the last 6 years. So we have some big things coming up. I have the Rumble in the Jungle event I'm telling you about. And we actually want to take the top boxes there. It's going to be great. But also, we are going to do something that has never been seen in Kenya very, very soon. But also for the gospel lovers, we have a big East Africa gospel star coming in August, courtesy of Mary Daddy Motors. Now, this is what I love. I love it that enterprises are coming up in Kenya, run and owned by the younger generation who are able to push out stuff, and I'm really excited about that. I can say Miss Kenya US on this platform. Let me talk about them. Another thing is collaborations. I believe that the secret, you see, we grew up with partial internet. Do you remember by the way when we used to buy ringtones?
Oh yeah.
Can you believe we paid for ringtones? Yeah. One of the things that this generation has that nobody else has is the fact that this is the first 100% generation with internet and social media. Collaborations. What can Miss Kenya USA pageant do with the Kenyan one? How can we get them to work together? Is it a CSR there? Is it the Kenyan to come here? How can we upgrade? Can we say there will be a slot for Miss Kenya USA beauty pageant in the Kenyan one? For your information, I was asked to be the chairman of the organizing committee and the board for the Miss World Kenya, Mr. and Miss World Kenya. So I'll be on the board. And one of the things I want to see, why don't we say that the Miss Kenya US pageant can happen and the winner comes and takes part in the Miss World Kenya pageant automatically,
Correct.
And with that, we make sure that she has a CSR project in Kenya, which we can nurture for her. And then we can also do cross, same for artists, DJs, producers, promoters. I think this is the time. And anybody even here in America who has money and wants to invest, there are lots of investment opportunities. One of them is the affordable housing project. Dawn, you will remember I told you this.
I'll bite my tongue on that one. But go ahead.
That I told you.
Yes.
We will build the houses. Come rain, come sunshine, because Kenyans need decent housing. It's wrong for many years after independence, 60 years, and we have people, or have half or a quarter of the people in the city who are living in uninhabitable areas. We cannot have that going on. As a nation, we have capacity, but also as the diaspora, you have the capacity to raise enough funds, get or give the government a bond, which you control, build up Kibera or Madare or Korogocho, sell those houses. The same money will have borrowed from the Chinese, will borrow from you. And we
but I'll interject on that one because we've done that. And that's one of it actually brings me to something I was going to mention in regards to your tenure of time. So there was a big initiative in the 2013 timeframe when the current CBK governor, Njuguna Ndung'u, was the PS in Treasury, and there was all these diaspora bonds that were going to be done. And as soon as that initiative was getting started, there was a change in administration and it didn't work. Now, how does that relate to you? So the reason why you're seeing all these people chiming in, and let me put the comments on the screen real quick. I will put up the one from Miss Kenya. This is Miss Kenya Pageant USA. On behalf of Miss Kenya, we want to thank you for the great work that you have done. We are grateful for the network you have formed for us and our sister pageant, Miss Kenya in Kenya. Thank you for promoting the girl child, and we look forward to working with you when we get home. All the best. Keep winning. I have another comment here from Genge True Nonini VP Boss. How are you? Ulicheza kama wewe. Afro Awards. The seed has been planted. Your soldiers are on the ground. Now, I'm not saying this because me and you go way back and that because we're friends other than this forum. However, I mentioned this in the Diaspora conference when I was in Nairobi, and I said clearly that competence matters. And how does competence matter? Is when you put somebody that is competent on the ground, and we have gone through everything that you have done. It is very frustrating for people like us on the ground when somebody is moved for no particular reason. I understand you've told us that it is a promotion, but all of the networks that you have made right now, being able to say, if I want to do something in Chicago, I can call on Top Down to do something and utilize all my networks and the networks that you've built. That continuity process now does not have a way to move forward with your successor that's coming in. And I wish him well. I don't really agree with him from the politics perspective, but I wish him well. Now, I would like you to take that feedback directly back to our commander-in-chief and say, watu wa huku wamekasirika. And just leads me to the next point. Oh, no, or watu wamekasirika, straight up. And I will tell them in their face. That's number one. A second reason as to why you've seen this big outpouring of support for you is precisely because of what I've mentioned, precisely because of the impact that you have made. Offline, we talked about the kind of activities happening. Let me just put one up on the screen just so you can see. So we have a going away event that has been organized by the Kenyan promoters group that we had put together with all the DJs, all the promoters, Ted coming from the creative industry. We got together and we put together this event that is going to be a going away event for Balozi Big Ted. There's something going on at the park this Saturday in LA. There's something at Culture Lounge on Saturday. And then on Sunday, you're going to be at church. The reason why you're seeing this outpouring of love is because of the work that you've done. It is not just vibes, it is work. And so I want to reiterate that fact, and I want you to take that back. You can use this clip and tell them, this is the feedback that you're getting. Not even you giving the feedback, this is feedback from the ground, and that is why this outpouring of love and appreciation has come out. So just want you to know that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think it's the same thing we said. It's the formula that we are using. One of the things that you're talking about is continuity. Again, part of it will be solved by policy. If I come here and I'm following a policy document, which basically says the way this thing should be done, you see, it's very, very easy for the next guy to take over and to run with it. But if it's just being done by Ted because he wants, and then the next guy comes and does whatever he wants, then you see it becomes haphazard. But I want to tell you that I have seen the documents and I've been in meetings. The government is mainstreaming the creative economy, tourism, sports, the arts, trade, ICT, very, very important. So all that is being harmonized, and also human labor. And labor, I talk about school, about work, about everything. Because yes, we're enough Kenyans, we can still come here. For example, California has a shortfall of about 400,000 health workers. You know, we can be able to fill that. The Olympics are coming to California. We can be able to provide 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 stuff. The World Cup is coming to LA and other towns. We're able to do 5,000 people too. So we have all these many things and opportunities that now government can come and say, okay, this is what we want. And I know when I go back, that will form part of my report and my reporting. And I'll be able to present that to even the boss once I meet with him. The other part that you sent me to tell the boss, I think I'll leave you his camera. You can.
By the way, talk about that. So you're going to be gone when the president is going to be in Washington, D.C. for a state visit on May 23rd. I know you're not going to be around, but do you want to touch a little bit on what the perceived objectives of the trip are and what he intends to achieve while he's here on a state visit?
Yes. So number one, understand that this is the first African state visit in how many years?
It's the first one in 20 years, right?
20 years. That's right. A big, big thing for anybody by any means. And one of the things, apart from me being spiritual, and I have to be spiritual with you, I'll tell you that no king exists without the knowledge of God and the blessing of God. Guys, he is our president for the next 5 years and 10.
I got you right on cue. There's your sermon. There's your sermon picture.
Yeah. That sermon was called Give God Back the Dream.
Okay. Okay.
So one of the things that I know will be happening is that the president will be here to make sure that he collates all the gains and puts them in a bag, and also takes stock and also gets commitment from America and the Western states to say, okay, this is what we want to do for you. I want to say something, that America has been really supportive of Kenyan investments and industries. And some of the things which you may not be able to understand when you see them happening, at some point, even your dad would say, oh, I'm going to use this route. You're like, oh, dad, no, that's the other way. But dad says, you know what? I'm your dad. I can see something that you're not seeing. So that's something which I tell everybody about where we are right now, and with the president and the presidency. That trip also will be a rubber stamp that Kenya is now playing on a different league. You know, we've been trying to push for some seats at the UN. We've been trying to push for even for the G8, and we've been saying Africa must be on the table. You know, and one of the things my president says very well, it cannot be that Africa is only discussed when there's a problem, but Africa cannot be there when we're discussing a solution. Africa, for your information, holds the solution to climate action. It holds a solution to food security. All these things. Remember that the majority of Africa, 60% of Africa, or 70 right now, is below the age of 30, is at 19. That is our mean age in Africa, meaning that in the next 10 years, Africa is able to provide human resource, food, manufacturing, agriculture, and everything. And with what we have seen in the Ukraine and the cutoff of that trade route, and the problem we're having in the Suez Canal, and the issues we've had with COVID, and the shutdown of the China trade routes and everything, it's important that the world looks at another direction for solutions to trade. For example, their ships right now, for them to get to that side of Africa, have to go down through South Africa. It has increased it by 2 more weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It has made it more expensive. But what if we're able to produce some of those things on the continent? Number one, we are cheaper. And number two, we are 100% sure that we have the necessary labor and human resource. And number three, in the next 10 years, it's projected that Africa will have one of the biggest populations. And the new growing cities are all in Africa.
Fantastic, fantastic. How can Kenyans participate in that visit? There's been not very much information that has been given. Do they look on the consulate website? Just like, how can they participate in that?
Again, the visit is organized by the State Department and the presidency in Nairobi. And right now, as we speak, in the final touches of just doing the diaries and everything, and then we shall be able to announce it out and say, this is what we shall do and how we shall be able to do it. Also, I am 100% sure the president will find time for Kenyans. That one I can assure you. But also number two is, how do we communicate to Kenyans?
That is homework. Uni homework, Yako. You've got a lot of bullet points. You've got almost 20. I hope you've been taking notes, huh?
You shut down the conversations with top down, and then Kenyans don't know anywhere else to get information.
No. We'll bring the commander in chief here. We'll say, come onto the platform. Come and talk to Kenyans. We'll get him on.
I wish we had a site or a portal where Kenyans would happily go in and get information and register. So like now we'll have done a push notification to everybody to check out the show, you know, because guys, there's power in numbers. Another thing before we lock up, Kenyans must now consider that they are part of the diaspora. And for them to be part of the diaspora, we say that until the lion learns how to write, all the stories of the hunt will glorify the hunter. Kenyans in the diaspora must write their story. How do you write your story, Kenyans in the diaspora? You must get involved with the politics of this country, because policy is made by politicians. Now, I want to celebrate a lady in Seattle on Federal Way, Nyambura, Honorable Nyambura. She's now the councilwoman for the Federal Way area. I think we have other guys in Minnesota, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, we have a couple, yeah.
And that is the way. Let us fill these boardrooms with our people so that, number one, even issues to do with immigration, hate, which is race, incarceration, all that can be handled. All the issues we're having of visas, oh, people call me and like, Ted, call so and so. I'm like, I can't call them. But what if we have our people in Senate? What if we have somebody in Congress who's able to stand up and say, Kenyans have proven to be good citizens. Kenya is a developing country. It's a friend to America. We need to give these guys an opportunity to come and harness their dreams and their visions here.
Fantastic. Quick time check. We are winding down the show. Thank you for all those that have been watching, sharing on Facebook and YouTube. We're gonna do a segue into something. If people follow you on your Instagram, they always see some of these lovely quotes that you put together, Mr. Sermon Man here. So I want you to just talk about that a little bit. Like, what is the thought process behind those lovely spiritual quotes that you put together that people really love to read?
So for the last 12 years, I've been writing a blog, Team D2D. So if you just Google teamd2d.wordpress, it will come up. And the blog are basically musings, which happen every morning and every night. And I just write them out and I just think about it. It started off as a protest note to God, but now it's turned out to be what God wants me to be able to tell people. And you'd be shocked the kind of stories which come out of those blogs. Very many people don't like it. And someone told me why. Because nobody wants to be seen to be lining up to get that medicine. But everybody is watching because I have the stats. I can look at what people are reading and what guys are saying. So people say that it's really helped them. I know of people who are in dire straits. I know people who are about to just commit suicide, and the note came in on time. And for me, it's just an encouragement that God is using me in different ways, that way, way beyond I can even. So I'm just a man helped by God who is out there. And what we say, it's grace. Grace is basically who I am. I'm just a beggar telling another beggar where I found bread. It doesn't mean I'm much better than you. It doesn't mean I'm more spiritual. I might be worse. I might be crazier. I might have more problems. But I just write what God wants me to write for that particular day. If I feed you, I'm 100% sure that somebody else will also feed me.
All right. I'm going to have one last comment here from Mary Wanalo again. She says, I suggest we have an official Diaspora website with elected officers who will liaise with the different groups around the U.S. and run it officially rather than the different WhatsApp groups that we have. I believe Dawn can spearhead this. Hey, hiya. Here we go.
Right there.
All right, we are winding down. Before we go, I have one other photo. So Ted, you're going back home and you've got all these plans, but the one thing that you cannot do is you cannot be elected. That one I know for a fact. And the reason why is, let me put that up on here. Who are these people, man?
Way back.
Oh my goodness! If people knew when this was from.
K1. No, K2.
This is K1. This is K1 K2. This is 2002.
Okay, yeah, man.
Let me get it off the screen before people take a screenshot. Oh my God.
I had that outfit. I used to wear it every, it was a Clippers outfit. I used to
Oh
wear
my
it
God.
everywhere.
So yeah, I mean, we should have given that disclaimer before we came on air that tumetoka mbali. Okay,
Oh, man.
tumetoka mbali sana.
Bado tunaenda mbali.
Na bado tunaenda mbali. I love it.
Yeah.
There is a tradition that I hear that the presidents do when they're leaving office, which is on the day of inauguration, they leave a note for the incoming person who is taking their seat. What would you leave on your note, or what are your final thoughts that you would say to the incoming person coming in that they should take to heart, your biggest takeaways from your time serving?
I've actually written a note already, and my note in some points points to the unique, peculiar characteristics of the diaspora. Number two, I also say that he should not be under pressure to do what I did because he's not me. And if he tries it, then already the diaspora will push back. One of the things I'm telling the diaspora is please to welcome him and just to listen, because I'm sure he has something that I don't have. He has something. God, I'm sure that he has a characteristic which the diaspora requires. And we are able to embrace what he has. I've also told him to try as much as possible and stay within the Kenyan communities and understand the Kenyan communities, the things that make the Kenyan communities tick. And yes, and a couple of other things I've told on all of you guys in the diaspora. Yeah. Yeah, in fact, today I haven't removed the stick. I usually have a stick for the diaspora. Yeah,
Oh my God.
and one of them is gone, man. Kenyans must just find a way to love each other. We can't hate each other that much. It's not right. you know this habit that we come here and now we form cliques and groups and everything, and everybody is warning you about the other person and the other person warning you about the other person, and us feeling that because we walked down that stair which says welcome to America, that now we are better than gold or we're better than God. I think doesn't hold any sense. But also for us to understand that there are people who came and bought the American dream, but have walked in here and the dream is not working for them. So people are in states of depression, people are in bad spaces. Let's be Kenyan in America. That I'm able to open my door for you. You can be able to call me at any time and go like, hey, I have this problem. Can you sort me out? Let's not have any more Kenyans dying and in the cold or homeless. Let's go in there. Let's look out for our third generation kids, because our third generation kids are saying that you guys are investing everything. Don, just a quote for you. We send home from the diaspora, the bigger diaspora, 400 bodies every year. And everybody to go home is about 1.6 million to 2.6 because you're counting your other things. And they're saying that how come we never put all that money whenever we want them to support anything, for us. But that's what we need. We need to put money together. Let's open Kenya cultural centers in every state. Let Kenyan kids come there and learn about their culture. Let them come there and do their homework. Let them come there and meet their stars and their celebs and hang out with other kids, so that we're not complaining that the kids here are spoiling our kids, but we're not creating areas and places and safe spaces for our kids to be able to thrive.
Fantastic. A couple of more comments before we break out. Brenda BK says, we are proud of you. You've done a fantastic job. I echo that. Faith Chimtai Chip Kwan, my partner from KMD, is frolicking in Boston, ready for the marathon. She says, how can we reach you when you get to Kenya?
Well, I'm quick on Instagram, Team D2D, Thomas Big Ted Kwaka. It's a verified account. Thomas Big Ted Kwaka. I'm quick on that. I mean, I'll answer anything which comes up there, and I'll make connections. And that's what I want to do, guys. Let's make connections. I don't have to be in government necessarily for me to be able to do anything for you. I can do stuff for you even out of government. I want to assure you that. But who knows? We'll get home and I might be your next chief administrative secretary or something.
We don't know. Before we leave, again, I'm going to put up the events happening this weekend. Balozi Big Ted and Friends, Saturday at Duarte Park in Anaheim. And then later on that night at Culture Lounge in LA. On Sunday, you're going to be at the church, Amazing Grace International Church in Fullerton. Or you're doing 2 church services and 1 at the Lifetime Church. Also, I want to give a big shout out to Macarena Mo, involved in pushing that event. All of the people that have come together from the Kenya Promoters Group, every single one has been involved in getting that together. Thank you very much for pushing that, KG, everybody involved, all the DJs that are involved in putting that together. Asante Nisana from the bottom of our hearts. Any other last thoughts before we break out?
No, I think I'm good. I'm good, guys. Thank you so much. America, you've been good to me. Thank you for the good times, the bad times, and the in-betweens. And we're here. We're here to stay. I'm not going. I'm just taking a break, and I'll come back. I'll be right back.
All right, folks. This has been Conversations with Top Don Special Edition with Balozi Big Ted. We thank him for his time and service, and hopefully we will talk to you very soon. Asante Nisana, and God bless.
Thank you.